Yeah, and one thing that I always tell young girls is never date or hook up with a player or a coach, because you will get fired, you will get in trouble, it will get found out. And that starts with, don't give your phone number to anybody. Don't tweet back at them when they're sliding into your DMs or whatever it is, or on Instagram. Don't play that game, because I would be in scenarios really early on where I was just being nice because I'm like, well, I got to talk to this person, so I have to respond, and I'm a kind person. And then they take it as like, oh, she's saying yes. And then you have to, fight it off in another way. And so I think it goes back to that, is being very particular about who you share your information with, and drawing that line early on and saying no.
But then, so to play devil's advocate, let's say you are a female reporter. And as a reporter, you have to hustle for information. And that is reliant on you having relationships and being able to text somebody, like some news comes out and you have to be able to text them and say like, what's up with this? And that's how you get information. So if you were a male reporter, you would never think like that. You would literally hand out your phone number as quickly as you could. So how do you do that? And I'm still in that place. Like, guys will come into the studio, nobody gets my number, and I don't get theirs, because I just don't create that extra layer, but I don't need it. I don't need them as a source. So professionally, I don't have to, if something happens with them that's newsworthy or with their team, I don't have to know. I don't have to text them. It's beneficial every once in a while to reach out to somebody who's involved in the situation and say like, just so that I can frame the conversation about this correctly on TV. Is this really happening? Is this far off? Is this report like just totally out of, and you can feel it out. But for me, that's the only reason I would need it. I'm not breaking news. And even if I had breaking news to break, I'd be like, how does that play out? I go, according to me, like, you know what I mean? Like, I would much rather just like, okay, Ian Rappaport, you go ahead and break that news. And then I'll tell everybody that you did on television anyway. So
it is hard.
I haven't had to figure that out. But if I was a reporter right now that was on a beat, you have to be able to give out your number, and then you just have to be able to and ask for their number and do it comfortably. And then I think the challenge is just figuring out a way to be authoritative in a way that but you can't worry about embarrassing them. Like, I don't know.
No, you've got to let go of that. People are going to react the way they react at the end of the day. And if they hate you and never want to talk to you again because you said no to them, then that is what it is.
Kind of.
Yeah. And you have to be okay losing that source. That's what I think.
Someone told me a story about how she got a text message from somebody at like 2 or 3 a.m. and was like, what? Like, is it important? Do I need to respond? Like, what's going on? Nope. Okay. I'm not going to respond, because the response at this hour gives the wrong message, and didn't respond. And then the next time they saw him, she was like, do you know that you texted me at like 3 a.m.? And he was like, yeah. And she was like, don't do that again. Just in a voice that was like, no. And he was like, oh, okay. And I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I would not deal with that type of confrontation very well, but that's the right way to do it.
Yeah.
And it didn't make it weird. It was just like, no, I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
Next.
Well, you don't have
and
to
then just change the subject and move on. But like, no, like, here's my hard and fast line. But I think what you said about texting back, and you feel like you need to be nice and you need to answer it, that's something that I think I'm over at this point in my career. Like, I'm not humoring you. And every message you get from me is going to be the same. Like, it's going to be like, I am here for you. I'm totally interested in you. I'm interested in us having a professionally friendly relationship, or even a friendly relationship. Like, I'm cool. We can be friends. But like, what you're going to get from me is my interest in you is this way.
Right.
And you're never going to get a signal from me that it's anything else. Like, I'm not here to flirt with you and make you feel nice. Like, that's not my job.
No. What's the most important thing you've learned about yourself in your career?
To trust myself. I think for a long time you have whatever insecurities you have, about whether it's a female talking about a sport that you didn't play or whatever, like, all of those things have worked themselves out for different reasons. Just things that you come to certain realizations about, like, okay, so let's say I didn't play football. Well, like, look at half of the men that are calling play-by-play for it. And this is something that it's okay with me if a fan doesn't come to this realization, as long as I have. Like, I have no reason to feel like I have no business being here at all, because there are other people that you would never think that about, that you're totally okay with being the best reporter or the best play-by-play person or whatever, who doesn't look like he's ever played any kind of sport, you know? But it's okay for some reason, like that correlation isn't drawn there, but it is for a female. And so I just got to a point where I thought, like, oh yeah, that makes no sense. It just doesn't make any sense. And I could have played professional tennis, but it wouldn't have made me any more knowledgeable about football. And that's something that kind of throughout time you run into different people in different situations, and you think, yeah, no, I've got a handle on this situation, and maybe in some cases more than this person or that person or that person. And so you just, if I could go back and take all of those insecurities away that were unnecessary about what other people thought and not what I thought, then I think that would have helped me a lot.
Have you ever been bullied by women in the business at all?
Probably not in a way that I've processed. I'm trying to think. I don't think I've ever had any like direct, like, oh, this one woman. But I mean, I know that exists in some cases.
So from your perspective, just the importance of women supporting women in what is a cutthroat business, you know, there's a lot of jobs, but for some reason we all think that there's only one and there's not enough room.
Well, it's because there used to only be one.
Right.
Like the mentality of being a female, like any kind of minority, is that it's like, okay, so they've made room for one, especially in television where it's sort of cast rather than hired like a normal job. So we have a show, and you know, whoever's casting it is going to put like one male and one female and, you know, different minorities or whatever, so that it looks like it's reaching as many demographics as possible. And so for so long, the one female that they were going to allow to be like the token female, you did have to fight for that. And so I think that's where a lot of the cattiness comes from. And it's not just in our business, that's just in business. It's like, we're gonna let one, you know? And so if you feel like there is only one job, and not only if you feel like there's one job, if there is one job, then inevitably you're gonna fight each other and backstab each other and not support each other to go get it. It's not gonna be like, oh yeah, you, me, and Kelly, okay, we're gonna help each other, I'm gonna make you as good as possible so that you can take the only job that I want and that it's available to me, take that away from me. So the way that everything was structured for so long kind of created that environment, I think. And now we're in a place where there are more jobs. And so we can both have a job. We could both host the same show. You know, I think that people are more open to women doing every role that's in television, as opposed to just there's a male host and then there's a female co-host. And I mean, there's still some of that. There's still some of, like, for the majority of my career, if I've hosted a show with a man and I think that producers don't even know that they're doing it. I think it's a totally subconscious thing. It's in the rundown for the male to say hi. Always. And I notice it. And I always notice it. And it's one of those things that if you went to someone and you said, so here's the thing that really bothers me. So-and-so always says hi. Why don't I ever get to say hi? Like, you would sound like it was this dumb complaint and like, oh my gosh, this person is totally hung up on the wrong things. But it's this subtle thing that makes the female the secondary person. It's like, if the person out of the gate that's welcoming you, that has control of driving the truck, and then you have to talk second, bouncing off of whatever that person, the conversation that they've started, it puts you in a secondary role that's, I think, subconscious to the viewer.